luck.
Good morning. This is Northern Light for Friday, April 14th. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Todd Moe.
The Adirondack Park Agency is taking public comments on whether to cut back on public comments. Some board members worry it will erode public trust and participation.
That sends a message to them, or they feel like we're not listening because we've put them at the end.
More from Adirondack reporter Emily Russell coming up.
Also, we'll preview a comedy show at the Recovery Lounge in Upper J tomorrow. It's called Banana Man. It's about a banana trapped in a box. Michael Galligan is the character's creator.
It becomes clear as the banana goes on his journey that this is a metaphor for things that we can relate to as humans as well, like mental health, isolation, self-preservation.
Also, John Warren checks trail conditions in the Adirondacks for this summer-like weekend. And what was that? We've got a sound quiz for Todd coming up. All of that and more is just ahead on Northern Light. Stick with us.
Broadcast of Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio is supported by Barstow Subaru, Potsdam, committed to the safety and security of all-wheel drive. Details at barstowsubaru.com. And Adirondack Foundation, helping people and families build a legacy of generosity for the Adirondacks, adirondackfoundation.org.
This is Northern Light. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Todd Moe. The Adirondack Park Agency is considering cutting back on public comments at its monthly meetings, and it wants public comments on that, which is pretty meta. You can weigh in now through next Friday on the proposed changes to the APA's public commenting policy. Emily Russell has the details.
The Adirondack Park Agency meets in person almost every month. The meetings are also streamed online for the public. The APA reviews policies, votes on permits, and weighs in on other issues in the park. At the start and end of those meetings, there's time for public comment, both in person and virtually. Sometimes only a few people speak up. Other times, it's more.
My name is Luann Callisa. My name is Cameron Cohen.
Hi, everyone. Yes, my name is Deborah Dempsey.
I'm Regina Balzano.
That's just a partial lineup of folks who commented at the start of one of the AP's meetings last year. But now the agency may nix that opportunity. It's considering only accepting public comments at the end. Those meetings, though, are sometimes 4, 5, or even 6 hours long. Dave Gibson is from the environmental group Adirondack Wild. He's all for public comments and urged the board at their meeting back in March to keep that opportunity at the start of their meetings.
At the end of the day, frankly, we're all tired. You're tired. And comments are not as well remembered.
But not everyone at the APA thinks that's true.
I have to respectfully disagree with Mr. Gibson.
That's APA board member Art Lucy. Lucy said the board is receptive to comments at the end. Plus, he argued that the public comments in the beginning can sometimes derail the rest of the meeting.
But when you have a major project on the horizon, you end up having the ability to go into the, 20 presenters at 3 minutes. You totally disrupt the entire meeting schedule.
There really haven't been as many as 20 public commenters in recent years. APA policy also says that the public comment period at the start should be limited to just 20 minutes. One reason, though, for potentially getting rid of that public comment period at the start of each meeting is that folks aren't allowed to comment on a project on the agency's agenda for that day. It's kind of complicated, and APA board member Benita La Jiao wants the agency to be more transparent, more open to the public's input.
I'm really concerned about the public really understanding who we are and what we are about. And so when we don't allow them to have feedback, provide feedback on really important issues, or they feel like we're not listening because we've put them at the end, that sends a message to them.
a message that La Jiao is worried could further distance the APA from the public. Beyond comment periods at the start and end of meetings, the agency does accept written public comments, but you need to be able to navigate the APA's sometimes clunky website or be on their email listserv to know when those public comment periods are happening. APA board member Mark Hall, who's worked in government for 20 years, said there's always something they can learn from public comments.
I think we got some extremely intelligent people sitting around a table, but we don't think of everything. And I think that's where public comment can really help us make good, informed decisions moving forward.
So the APA is doing just that. It's accepting public comments on its public commenting policy. You can submit a comment from now until next Friday at apa.ny.gov. Emily Russell, North Country Public Radio.
A new land conservation deal will ensure that the largest remaining piece of privately owned land within the Green Mountain National Forest in Vermont remains undeveloped and accessible to the public. Last week, the ownership of the nearly 2,800-acre area known as Rolston Rest near the town of Killington was transferred to the U.S. Forest Service by the Trust for Public Land. The property supports habitat for bobcat, moose, otter, and threatened northern long-eared bat. It also hosts 3 miles of the Long Trail, a hiking trail that runs from Massachusetts to Canada, and other recreation trails.
The federal government is offering financial grants to help fix buildings that were damaged during the blizzard that hit at Christmas time. Congresswoman Claudia Tenney announced the grants this week, according to the Watertown Daily Times. Homeowners in Jefferson, Lewis, and St. Lawrence counties will be eligible to receive up to about $40,000 from the U.S. Department of Agriculture to help pay for repairs through the Single Family Housing Rural Disaster Home Repair Grant Program. More information can be found on the USDA's website.
The town of Potsdam passed a local law earlier this week to allow licensed retailers to sell recreational marijuana. WWNY-TV reports that the law will allow both cannabis retailers and lounges to operate within the town's borders. The state has already issued cannabis selling licenses to several North Country business owners. In Potsdam, one cannabis dispensary may open in the former Olympia Sports Store across Route 11 from the local Walmart.
The city of Burlington will rename Vermont's largest airport in honor of retired U.S. Senator Patrick Leahy. During his State of the City speech this month, Burlington Mayor Mira Weinberger said the airport will become known as the Patrick Leahy Burlington International Airport. 83-year-old Leahy retired from the Senate in January after 48 years. He didn't attend the event at the Burlington City Hall where the announcement was made. He was hospitalized at the time at the University of Vermont Medical Center where he was being treated for a back issue.
You can keep up with NCPR throughout the day on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and at our website, ncpr.org.
Listening to Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio. Time now is 8 minutes past 8. Good morning. I'm Todd Moe.
And I'm Monica Sandreski. Just ahead, we'll stop by a wool and fiber class in Canton and check out the trail conditions in the Adirondacks this weekend, courtesy of John Warren. Both of that is coming up in just a few minutes right here on Northern Light.
This is music by Zoe Knight in Potsdam. Check out more of Zoe's music. It's part of our Underscore project. You'll find it at ncpr.org/underscore. Northern Light is supported by Cloud Splitter Foundation, acknowledging Crane Valley Horse Rescue Incorporated, dedicated to equine rescue and rehabilitation. More at cmvhr.org. And by Seacom Credit Union, serving the financial needs of people throughout northern New York and Vermont. In person, online at seacom.org, and on your smartphone.
Country residents interested in more experimental theater, the Upper J Arts Center often delivers unusual and new performances to the Adirondacks. They also have a residency program allowing artists time and space to create work.
An upcoming solo clown show called Banana Man was born at a residency in Upper J and will debut tomorrow. Amy Feiereisel spoke with the performer and the director of the show.
Since 2019, a New York City-based theater collective called Slugfest has come to Upper J for residencies. Michael Galligan is one of the performers.
The Recovery Lounge is a really unique place. We've had a lot of really beautiful, creative experiences as a group there.
During the group's second residency in 2021, a new character emerged while they were doing an improv exercise called Worlds,
which is sort of like huge, long-form improv scenes.
That's the group's director, Bailey Nacetta.
We have a bunch of props around the room when we do this game. And I think, Michael, you chose the banana suit. It was just like beckoning his eye, and he put it on.
Yes, a banana suit. Then Galligan and the rest of the group improv'd a whole snack time musical.
The banana was like the star of the show, and it was really, really, really incredible improv. And I think seeing that from the outside, I was like, wait a second. We got something here.
Galligan and Nacetta brought that character back to New York City and ran with it. It was a 5-minute opener, then a 15-minute skit, and finally an hour-long solo clown show. They're bringing the newest version of that show to Upper J in April, the first stop on a summer tour. The premise is this. Galligan is a banana, trapped inside a cardboard shipping box.
And so it's about the banana's journey, sort of a silly journey through different versions of comedy, different forms of comedy, like stand-up, musical, dance, karaoke.
Galligan says it's clowning, so it's comedy. But there are also strong themes of isolation and vulnerability in the show.
It becomes clear as the banana goes on his journey that this is a metaphor for things that we can relate to as humans as well, like mental health, isolation, self-preservation. Sort of in a tongue-in-cheek way, the box is a comment on that, the idea that like it's safer to be inside of a box, to be hidden.
Galligan says the show also acknowledges that comedy itself can be defensive, hiding behind a laugh or a joke. But for Galligan, there is no hiding. It's a one-man show. He's it. Bailey Nacetta, the director, says that's a tall order for a performer.
Michael has such an incredible task at hand and is such an incredible artist and performer.
When they rehearse the show, it's just Galligan and Nacetta. They have a loose script, but that can fly out the window because Galligan is a clown, so improvising with the audience is key.
So there's almost like two versions of the show that Michael has, like the version that's just us in the room together, and then there's this whole other script that appears on the day that you have the show that Michael cannot really plan for in any which way.
And that's the joy of the art of clowning, says Galligan.
In theater, you play for the audience. In clown, you play with the audience. And so because of that, the show changes drastically from piece to piece.
That's a huge part of why they're so excited to do the show in Upper J for a new audience far from New York City.
Especially with comedy where the reactions from the audience are so pronounced, we're able to hear different things than we normally would.
How the audience responds, where they laugh, how they interact with Galligan, or even someone getting up on stage and playing with him.
Clown gives a particular form of vulnerability to me that I enjoy because I think that it tends to create sort of a connection between the audience and the performer. You know, through my vulnerability, I hope to kind of spread that vulnerability to, you know, even if it's just one member of the audience that feels more kind of comfortable exploring that in their own life. I think that would be a beautiful outcome.
But mostly, Galligan says, expect to laugh and to think, and that no one is required to come up and improv next to him in the banana suit. Amy Feiereisel, North Country Public Radio.
Banana Man will have two 2-hour-long performances tomorrow. Tickets are available on the Upper J Arts Center website. Nicetta and Galligan will also be teaching a clowning workshop on Sunday that you can check out, and you can find out more from the Upper J Arts Center website. And Todd, I have a little bit of a fun fact for you. My mom was a clown.
Really?
Yes. She went to clown school when I was in elementary school. Her name was Star.
Star.
That was her stage
clown.
name. Yes.
Did she ever tell you and your sister to quit clowning around?
No, she usually encouraged it. She was yeah, she just always she's really good at working with kids. That's how she's trained and has always done that. And she was curious to see a new way of interacting with kids. And I think the way she was doing it was more traditional. And she was like, they're kind of scared of like the traditional kind of clown, with all the face makeup and stuff. And I asked my dad recently, he was like, what did you think of that when Mom went to clown school? And he was like, I don't know. You got to let adults do what they want to do. But that was a fun thing in our class in our home growing up.
I say more power to your mom.
Totally.
Excellent. You're listening to Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio. No foolin'. I'm Todd Moe.
And I'm Monica Sandreski. In just a minute, we'll preview the weekend's trail conditions in the Adirondacks. Also, we've got a sound quiz for Todd. And we'll stop by a wool and fiber class in Canton. Much more coming up. Then stick around after the show for Bird Note, just ahead at 8:42. But first, Todd has a look at the weather for us.
My advice is to go outside today and take a moment to just take a deep breath. Just stand outside. Seriously, it's spring and the weather is so nice. Go outside and grab a handful of dirt and take a deep breath and just enjoy it. Sunshine, highs in the 70s, even in the low 80s in some spots like Glens Falls, Saratoga Springs. Light winds out of the east-northeast. Clear tonight, low around 50. And then tomorrow and Sunday, the Weather Service predicting partly sunny skies, highs in the 70s tomorrow, and upper 60s, low 70s on Sunday. We have sunshine and 58 degrees right now in Canton. Here with a look at trail conditions and other outdoor conditions in the Adirondacks for the weekend is John Warren. Okay, we'll have John in just a moment, Monica. A little bit of another technical glitch again this morning. Let me get John Warren set up, and here he is. No. Okay. I'm going to try this. In the meantime, just a reminder that the Weather Service says really, really nice conditions today and through the weekend. Then it's going to be a little cooler on the early part of next week. The Weather Service predicting highs in the 50s and 60s the early part of next week, with overnight lows in the 40s and 50s. That's for Monday and Tuesday, and a good chance of rain showers as well, starting maybe Sunday night and into Monday. In the meantime, here's John Warren.
Into the 80s this week, melting most of our snowpack at lower elevations and rising the levels of rivers and streams to above flood stage in some areas. Temperatures will remain warm this weekend, with the highest summits forecast to be in the lower 50s, with just a chance of showers through the weekend. Stem rivers are well above normal levels for this time of year, especially the Sacandaga, Hudson, Scroon, Ausable, and Racket. Many waters will be impassable this weekend, so plan alternatives in the event a stream you cross in the morning is impassable in the afternoon. Whitewater rafting will be kicking off this weekend. That will make it one of those weekends when it will be possible to ski in the morning and raft in the afternoon, as Gore and Whiteface will both be open at least for Saturday, if not Sunday. Gore will be hosting a pond skim on Saturday. All other ski facilities are closed for the season, and backcountry skiing can no longer be recommended, although snowshoes will still be needed above about 2,000 feet. There remains a little over 2 feet of snow at the Lake Colton caretaker's cabin, but Avalanche Lake and Lake Colton are no longer crossable. If you are heading out, carry traction devices for those icy areas. The mud season advisory has been issued, and Adirondack Park stewards and DEC are asking hikers to avoid hiking above 2,500 feet to reduce negative impacts on trails and natural resources. Stick to lower elevation and southern exposures this weekend to avoid mud, but wherever you go, expect to get muddy and walk through, not around mud, to avoid widening trails. Most gates to seasonal roads are now closed for mud season, including those at Jabe and Lily Pond in the Lake George Wild Forest. And finally this week, the burn ban remains in effect, and the fire danger is high in the eastern Adirondacks and moderate elsewhere. There have already been numerous wildfires around the state. It's just best to avoid all fires, including campfires, until spring rains come. Those are the outdoor conditions in the Adirondacks this weekend. For North Country Public Radio, this is John Warren from the New York Almanac. Online at NewYorkAlmanac.com.
You're listening to Northern Light right here on North Country Public Radio. It's 20 after 8. I'm Monica Sandreski here with Todd Moe. And regular listeners know that we have a regular segment called Stump Todd. That's where myself or listeners record some sound out in our world, and we play it for Todd on the air and see if he can guess it. And Todd, you've never heard this sound before, right?
No, and let's hope that we hear it on the air now.
Oh, we will. No,
hope that we don't have any little technical glitches here. So, I have not. It has been hermetically sealed in one of Monica's computers. And you want me to play it?
Yes, go ahead and play it.
It is. Oh, you know what?
Kind of sounds like a kitten.
No. It's something that is spinning fiber.
Yeah. I knew you would know what I knew you would know it.
I love this sound, though. But I actually did a story a few years ago with a young woman who's a spinner in Gouverneur.
Oh, great.
And she had a treadle and a wheel and was spinning some wool and or some flax. So I promise I had not heard that sound before, but I do recognize that beautiful sound of the wheel and and spinning the wool or whatever the fiber is there. Yeah.
Isn't it lovely? Spinners I've talked to love just how much they can interact with the wheel in that way. Like you said, and this is sound I recorded of a spinning wheel at Tawny Traditional Arts in upstate New York in Canton. This spinning wheel is kind of wild. It's dark brown and old. It's from 1789.
Really?
Yes, very, very old. And it's big. It is a big wheel. It's called like a walking wheel, like where you stand up and feed the yarn into it. So it's very big. But so as you know, and many listeners do, spinning wool is sort of the last step in the process of making yarn. And before you even put the wool on the wheel, you have to get it ready to spin. There's a process called carding, and that is today's Heard Up North.
I'm Matilda Lind. I'm the program director at Tawny Traditional Arts in upstate New York, and I'm also a spinner and weaver and a big fan of all things related to textiles. And I'm here teaching people how to process fleece and spin yarn. So I am taking some washed wool fleece, and I am using these 2 wooden paddles with metal teeth on them called hand cards or wool cards to basically prepare it for spinning. The little teeth all over these wooden paddles are basically like separating out all the fibers. When they're freshly washed, they tend to be kind of clumped up, and they don't spin very well. You can't make a nice smooth thread out of them very well. But once you do this, it spreads them out, fluffs them up, makes them a little more even, and then it's much more possible to get a nice even yarn out of them. This has so much vegetable matter in it. Like, there's a part of the wool that I'm having to separate out because it's just gnarly.
Like vegetable matter as in like hay.
Pieces of the barnyard. I've had some where it had these big thorns in it, and they were absolutely invisible, but they could cut right into your hands. Sometimes it's dead bugs. Sometimes it's pieces of poop. There's all sorts of delights that you can find in wool. Wool is such a complex fiber. It has so many different forms, so many different qualities and colors and textures. There's so many different breeds of sheep in the world, and like every sheep each year has kind of a different fleece also. So like it just never gets boring, it never gets old. Yeah, and it's just satisfying. Tactilely, it's so satisfying to just work with these natural materials.
Tilly Lind is the program director at Tawny Traditional Arts in upstate New York. I produced this Heard Up North.
I love that Heard Up North. There is something so comforting about the sound of carding wool and then spinning wool. I just love that, Monica.
Oh, thank you, Todd. Thank you. Appreciate it.
It's 26 minutes past 8, and just to want to remind you, there's a few events coming up in our North Country community. Tomorrow is the Sam Fest at the Paul Smith's College Vic. It is news and information and music, poetry coming up at the Vic. Starts at, I believe, like 11 o'clock tomorrow, continues through the mid-afternoon. It's free, open to everyone, so stop by the Paul Smith's College Vic. Lots of folks from Paul Smith's College, others around our region, celebrating the natural world and the environment. And, of course, Earth Day coming up in another week. That's at the Paul Smith's Vic tomorrow.
And I love so many places in our community that offer classes. I think at Tawny that we just heard from offers these sort of wool to yarn classes or hammered dulcimer courses. Also, of course, the Adirondack Folk School in Lake Luzerne. They offer so much from basketry to chair caning. This weekend, they've got a class on an introduction to tool making. You'll make a chisel or punch with Russ Jennings. He's a very experienced blacksmith. Blacksmiths have always made their own tools, and it's a skill every smith should know how to do. They're going to work with carbon steel to make a punch and a chisel that will be hardened at the working end and soft at the striking end, and you will leave with two usable tools. The Adirondack Folk School always has interesting classes going on. You can find out more at adirondackfolkschool.org.
If you are a collector of antique ephemera and old books, the Friends of the Ogdensburg Public Library is hosting an antique and collectible book auction coming up Monday, April 24th at 5 o'clock. They're on Washington Street in Ogdensburg. Auctioneer Ed Law will be there. The preview starts at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The auction starts at 5. 500 books in various conditions. First editions, signed volumes, collections, maps, stamp collections. That's all happening at the Ogdensburg Public Library, that antique and collectible book auction on Monday, April 24th, starting at 5 o'clock, and the preview starts at 4 o'clock. Here's a little bit of some Latin jazz from Arturo O'Farrell. He and the Afro-Latin Jazz Ensemble are performing tomorrow night, Saturday night at 7:30 at Hosmer Hall at SUNY Potsdam. CPS is sponsoring the concert. You can find more information about the concert and tickets at cpspotsdam.org. But let's go out with a little bit of Arturo O'Farrell and his Afro-Latin Jazz Ensemble. Arturo O'Farrell there on the piano. They'll be in concert tomorrow night, 7:30 at SUNY Potsdam. And that is Northern Light for this Friday, April 14th.
Morning Edition continues in just a minute. Then join us later this morning for 1A, where we'll get a roundup of the week's news. That's just ahead between 10 and noon right here on North Country Public Radio. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Todd Moe. Have a great weekend. Thanks for listening. Be well.